Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Rachel. I'm excited about our conversation. It started because I often post in my Facebook group how the physical body is a reflection of our mind. When you talk about the body and you talk about the mind, it automatically causes trouble because we're separating these two different things.
Yeah.
And I've heard you using the word mind body, like one word, mind body.
Body mind.
Or body mind. So
Yeah.
so it makes it harder to tear it apart and
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
analyze these two different things. In this conversation, we hope to be able to make a difference in people's understanding of, both a lot of, when we talk about spiritual understanding and how does that relate to the fact that we are physically human beings in a physical body.
Yeah.
Before we start, just a little bit of an intro about you and that.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, really looking forward to this, Dominic. And for some context, I was born with an illness, and that's been a sort of lifelong journey of learning, discovering, and certainly a path of spiritual exploration in terms of finding a way forward for myself. And now I support clients with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, ME, long COVID, that type of chronic illness. And really hoping that having a conversation today about the spiritual aspects of the body mind, and in particular today looking at Abraham Hicks' approach to health and well-being and illness, that we can open up some possibilities and have a fun conversation of exploration, really. Yeah, so thank you. Thanks for the opportunity today.
Yeah. Well, this is such a valuable topic. There's nothing more intimate than the physical body to draw our attention and to get our focus. Where's a good place to start?
Well, I thought I'd dive straight in with from the Asking It Is Given, Abraham Hicks book, where they state there is no source of illness, merely a disallowing of well-being. So no source of illness for people who have had a lot of illness and are currently going through difficult physical issues. That can feel like quite the statement. There is no source of physical illness, but a disallowing of well-being. So that's quite a broad question to perhaps open us up and see where we go with that, really.
Yeah. I'm glad you started with that question because through this conversation, when misunderstood, we tread in a way that people hear blame. Oh, I get it. You're blaming me for my illness then. Right? So then they hear blame in this conversation. Well, let's be clear. The intention is empowerment, not blame. So where we're moving as we're talking is for an understanding that brings empowerment. It the realization of the power back to the source of the power.
Yeah.
The challenge for us is we are so powerful that nothing is off limits to us. There is no restriction in our use of that power. And so this is where we can get into our own way, but it's innocently done. It isn't a thing like, well, but you're to blame. This is not this conversation. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah, and certainly for me, that was an issue of self-blame, self-judgment. Why can't I get this right? I've tried this, I've tried that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I think that's one aspect of the conditioning that we grow up with. And also you refer to it as the smaller self, and I might use the separate self of identity and conditioning. So there's two things there. One is the link of my identity, or the illness becomes my identity, it's who I am. And two, it's my fault
Yeah.
because I can't find a way forward. But I love what you say about the intention of the word to bring empowerment, and that's where the excitement is for me. That's where the door can open in seeing things in a new way.
Mm. It's interesting. So much trouble with these words. No matter how we say them, they can be misunderstood. It's not my fault. Even when I'm about to say this, I know it'll be misunderstood right away. It's not my fault, it's my creation.
Yeah.
Even that was people would react to.
Yeah.
But from the understanding of I am creating everything that is being experienced by me, it is being created through me. Why there's an empowerment here is if I could see how that happens, I have an about what I'm creating and experiencing because I know how that experience happens, how my experience of reality is actually happening. When I don't realize, then it seems to be happening to me as opposed to seems to be happening through me, seems to be reflecting an experience back to me through me. There's something in that second one that gives me more access to what's going on and how that might be created in the way that I prefer.
Yeah. So you're telling me that I have created my own illness is the misunderstanding. Two, beginning to see how creation happens.
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful for people.
Yeah, and it might come from where you said there's only a source of well-being. Thing that is in form, everything that is physical is the reflection of something before it. It is reflecting an intelligence, an energy that expresses as physical. So when we say, so there's only a source of well-being, maybe the idea of light is helpful. So there's only light. The trouble is, if there is only light, you and I in our spiritual explorations are familiar with there's only consciousness. It's pure awareness. That's all there is. So it's one indivisible whole, an energy from which all things are manifest. So if there is only light forever and eternally, then it's indistinguishable. Really, there's no experience of anything. We have nothing to see or. The minute you get in the way of it, what happens is then you cast shadows. So if I am blocking light, what's cast is shadow, and shadow I can experience because now I have contrast. And in the contrast, what's distinguished is something that is not what is truly there, like the truth of what is there. So only a source of well-being, this energy that is manifesting as all things, is only good, is only pure creation energy, not a destructive energy. It cannot destroy itself. If it had a destructive tendency, it would consume itself eventually. But that energy is eternal, expanding, creative, constructive, adding more and more and more. So the light keeps moving, and the source has nothing but light. Then our experience is one of degrees of resistance. And so now that's what all our experience becomes, is that blockage or shadow of light.
Mm. So the disallowing of the well-being is causing the shadow. And I'm guessing that that's around our belief system, our conditioning, because resistance comes, shadows are formed. So it might be helpful for us to look at how are those shadows formed?
Yeah.
Through our conditioning, through our identity, through
Yeah.
uh,
We can reduce everything to the truth in what that light is consciousness, which is a pure awareness. And Sydney Banks spoke of there's an energy or an intelligence of all things that is, and he said that is mind. Some would call God. And we'll point to two other aspects because Sydney Banks said three principles, but he was clear that he's talking about one thing, but he was just using three words. So there's this intelligence, and we can feel it, us directly, because we're indivisible from it. It is breathing us. So when we just pause, we'll notice there's breathing. And when you look, you realize, well, you're not doing this. So that's important. It's like, well, what's doing this? Because you're not doing this. If you eat food, the nutrients, it's digested. The nutrients move into every cell that requires them, and anything unnecessary is disposed of. Well, how's this happening? Like, this is pretty complex stuff, right? So there's some energy or intelligence. You and I aren't doing any of it. So we're in the middle of this intelligence. Even I often talk about, if you cut your finger, well, what do medical people do? They put a band-aid on it. Now, why would they do that with all of their studies and everything that they've learned? Is because they can't heal it. But what they know is, if you put a band-aid on it, that means you don't look at it.
Yes, yeah.
So that's helpful right away, right? Because as you said, I have a finite mind. There's only a few things I know in comparison to the kind of intelligence that operates the cells of my body. So if there's a cut, you put a band-aid on it, now my attention's not there, which means my interference will not be there. I get on with my life while the intelligence does the restoration back to full, proper way that it is. And so that is working without my conscious attention. And it's an important thing to notice and to start to realize, this is reliable. I can literally trust this thing. Imagine if I ate dinner and now had to, where are all these nutrients going? Are you sure you need all of them? Like, some of them you might need. And imagine you had to like go through and categorize them out and, oh, well, no, you can't get rid of that one because there is your big toe that actually needed that particular thing. And so, come on, yesterday it didn't need it, today it does. It's impossible. We're not intelligent enough in our finite mode. But that intelligence exists.
The no doer in non-dual language, that's the no doer, isn't it? We're not in there putting nutrients into different areas of the body and making sure every part's got the correct amounts, and that's just not what happens. There is an intelligence that's doing that for us. And I think what was important about the band-aid is that you said it takes our conscious awareness away from the problem and stops us interfering.
Yes.
It stops us interfering with a process that can happen from great intelligence that is way beyond our sort of finite mind, really. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And it's important to realize our finite mind is not a separate mind from
Mm,
this intelligence. It's a limitation, a
mm,
fraction, an aspect of that same energy. We're not like this separate mind. It's
mm,
the same mind. Abraham Hicks talks about who you are is pure source energy consciousness. So the beginning of that statement, because they say a number of things as they keep saying the statement, but who you are is pure source energy consciousness. So they just described you as that. And a part of you has focused
mm,
into this physical existence. So they didn't separate you. They said that's who you are. And a part of you has focused into this physical existence while the greater part of you remains non physically focused.
mm, mm,
So when they give that description, they are saying who you are. There is a focus that is you in this physical existence, and you remain non physically focused. So
mm,
you are all of that.
mm,
You are all of that, never separate from all of that. And
mm,
this is where, there is only a source of well being. Do you think that you would harm yourself? You, you have focused into this physical body while the greater part of you remains non physically focused. Is there an evil coming from there? Is there some sort of you
mm,
spite me and this is what I'm going to do to you? It's just same entity. This is the same beingness. Right. So there is only a source of well-being,
yeah,
only good.
yeah. So the interference, the the causing of the shadow, there are biological and physiological explanations. There are psychological explanations. There are sociology explanations in terms of different people who look at the physicality and the psychology of being in human form and illness and disease. And there's the intelligence of all things. So, what I'm hearing is that sort of picking at the plaster, at the cut, we might think, well, that's because there was trauma in my life, or that's because there's a physical problem, the fight and flight, and the nervous system is stuck in fight and flight, sympathetic nervous system, not able to calm itself. And yet the polyvagal theory that also brings in contact, environment, being connected to others being just as important for our well-being. And what I'm seeing is this mass of theories, proposals, solutions to illness and disease. And yet I'm wondering, whilst all those theories are founded in research and evidence and stand up, whether all those theories are attractive to us because we're continually looking for the reason that we're sick. And we're looking for a solution, the reason and the solution. And if only I can, the sort of separate finite self that's seeking and searching, is that what brings us to the picking at the band-aid and perhaps perpetuating illness?
Mm.
If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's wonderful how the variety, the differences amongst us, right?
Mm.
Where some come in and they're fascinated by the physical body. Others
Mm.
are here and we're fascinated by a tree, by flower, by nature.
Yeah.
And so this is where you get the sort of the science and the
Yeah.
understanding of all of these things. I mean, the planet rotates on its own, and then none of us go flying off. And so this is where there's a real curiosity to understand all of this. So that's all beneficial, and because of our understanding, there's so much we've been able to do. Like,
Mm.
today we're not rubbing sticks together to cause fire, and
Yeah.
we're living in warm homes and things like that. So it's amazing, what that does to study these things and look at them. So, but then there are ways we cause trouble. And
Mm.
in all of that science, when it remains at a physical descriptive level, it's missing the cause or source of it,
Mhm.
which is pure consciousness, which is that intelligence. Um, Without acknowledging that aspect, in a way, none of this will ever make enough sense.
Mm.
And we will be attempting to fix everything from a finite
Yeah.
physical intelligence that doesn't exist as a separate
Yeah.
walking, moving being. It only
Yeah.
exists
Yeah.
as an integrated movement within this
Mm.
reality. All the shadow and resistance is really the formation, is a thought. Sydney Banks said this intelligence is aware. So that was a second principle. He goes,
Mhm.
it's an intelligence and energy of all things. It is aware. And we know that, like we know, oh yeah, I am aware, right? So this intelligence is aware. In other words, it's not just an intelligence like information, data, understanding of construction of things like you would find on a spreadsheet that's like dead intelligence. It is not aware, although you might say, well, math is intelligent. Yes, but it's not aware.
Yes.
So, but this intelligence is aware. Well, that was a second principle, consciousness. So there's mind, it is conscious and aware. But then you would say, aware of what?
Mm.
And if you say aware of what, again, you gotta be pure. Well, you just said that it's an energy of all things. It is aware of what? Well, when we're pure about it, it can only be aware of itself because there's nothing else. If that's the energy of all things, eternal and infinite, and it is aware, the only awareness there could be is an awareness of itself, what it is. Well, that's pretty boring. Who came up with that? Right? Now you have light, aware of light.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you going to do with that? So you have an eternal light, aware of light. Well, big deal. So that's where the third principle that Sydney Banks spoke about comes into play, which is the creative principle.
Mm.
And the creative principle is implied. He didn't add in a quality because he thought, well, that's not good enough. So we'll stick in another aspect to this. It's just implied. When you look, you realize, oh, it has to be that way. So this intelligence, aware of itself, one way of saying it, it's an intelligence aware of every aspect of itself.
Mhm.
That's just another way of saying the exact same thing. And it's a mind that is conscious of what? Of itself. mind that is conscious of every aspect of itself. I haven't said anything different and I haven't added anything different. It's implied because if that second statement were untrue, if there was this intelligent, all knowing intelligence that did not have an awareness and knowing of every aspect of itself, it would not be all knowing. It would be sort of like me going, oh, I didn't know I had that finger. Oh my gosh. It's like, well, then you're not all knowing if you just.
I didn't realize that was
I did
there.
not realize that.
Yeah.
However, in this aware of every aspect of itself, that is the third principle Sydney Banks spoke about, which is thought. Abraham says that thought is focused consciousness. So when thought is focused consciousness, it is focused within itself, when awareness focused within itself. And that is the creative principle, because when mind, intelligence, focuses within itself and is aware of its own focus, focuses within itself and is aware of its own focus, creation, right? That is creation. Now we have something distinct from the light. But there's only light, I know, but the light can focus within itself and distinct create contrast within the light. And now we have contrast within light, made of light. So we haven't added things. We haven't brought things in from other universe or realities. We're just dealing with the same thing. So one of these things, by the way, which is created, is you and me. We're also a thought, a focus, right? And this, you don't have to go too far in all of this stuff. We talk big, like, oh, mind, intelligence of all things, and like that. But you and I are made of the same thing, same nature, same qualities. If we just notice, we go, oh yeah, basically everything I know or have ever known is in my mind, right? Now, I don't know everything, but what I do know is in my mind. And so my mind is a fraction of what's all known. And then I go, well, who am I? Well, I'm like this and I'm like that. Oh, so that's who you think you are? Yeah. And so there's a thought that is me. And when it comes to who am I really, I'll give you the description. But really, at the end of it, you'll say, oh, is that what you think? I'll say, well, this is who I am, and I'm married, and I'm this. But I was born in Italy, and then this stuff and that, and at the end of it, I could talk to you and tell you all about me. And then at the end, all you would have to say is, oh, is that what you think?
Yeah,
because that's all I'm telling you is what I think, and that is who I am.
Yeah.
Except I am far more than that.
Yeah.
So there's the challenge between who I really am and then who I think I am. And therein lies the rub and the resistance, which is not negative. All there is to realize is I am nothing but one big self-limitation of my true power and true nature. Not like a negative, but more so I can experience some fraction of all of this. Yeah. I can experience this fraction of it. That is who I think I am relative to the truth of all that I am. And that's the finite me, finite mind, contrasted with the truth of the
Mm.
source of me.
There's a separate self with an identity, excuse me, of who we think we are. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, when I was trying to come from that place of a separate me, an identity of illness, an identity of Rachel, the seeking was a vicious cycle, because it is in that who I think I am limitation of trying to find the way forward or trying to find the answer. So understanding that the body and mind really are one. We are one, both in form and formless. Going back to the Abraham Hicks book, they talk about pain, emotional or physical pain, being the body mind sending energy to alert us to the contrast, I guess, the contrast, the shadow, what we've been talking about of what we want. So the be, do, and have whatever we want. What we want is being suppressed. And that energy or pain, emotional, physical, is showing us that resistance within our experience. So I'm wondering if you could say a bit more about that.
Yeah.
The suppression of our wants, our joy, our light.
Yeah.
And that's showing up as physical or emotional pain.
Yeah. It doesn't have to. So first, let's see that shadow contrast resistance is not a negative thing. It's essential to experience.
Mm.
And let's look like this. It's essential to experience, because if you didn't restrict who you are, there'd be no end to you. And then the trouble is, you and I couldn't talk, because you would not see yourself as distinct from me. You would not see
Can you
yourself as
imagine?
right. And I'd be like, Rachel, where are you? Would not see that you're distinct. So unless you restrict yourself, which is
Yeah.
not a negative thing, but it is a finite, well, now you and I can actually have a conversation, right? Because because you are only that, right? So and so that now gives you the experience of Rachel.
Yeah.
Now, here's the trouble. When we came, this is what Abraham would say. So who you are is pure source energy consciousness, and a part of you has focused into this physical existence while you remain non-physically focused. So no separation, right? So there, you are here. It's just a focus. It's like my thought is not separate from me. A thought in my mind is not. Well, I don't want to talk about the thought in my mind. I'm trying to talk about my mind. Well, where do you think your thought is? No, that's a different thing. It's in your mind. It's not separate from that. So who you are is a focus, right? While the greater part of you. So there's no separation there. It's just there. And now, so you focus into this physical body and you're here. And then you don't have much contrast or distinction when you come. But you're trying to figure this place out, because this place is all separated out, which, by the way, is why you came, is for the knowing this contrast sparks expansion in you. So this thought of you, yeah, maybe that's important. The thought of you that is never separate from all that you are has a deep knowing that you are more than this. Why would you do this to yourself? Why would you take yourself from that all-knowing state into being a fraction of what you know yourself to be. It
Yeah.
sounds silly, but why would you do this?
Yeah.
But you do this to experience every aspect of yourself. You can imagine if mind had infinite aspects. That is how it's all knowing. It knows all that it is and knows every aspect of itself. So you are focused, you knowing this aspect of yourself while at the same time having a deep knowing of all that you are. You can feel it within you.
Mm.
So there's no way for you to exist without the knowing of what the existence that is
Mm.
really. So
Mhm.
the thought that is you, the finite that is you, is has a deep knowing of the truth that is you.
Mhm.
What you feel as you will be this contrast between the truth and who you think yourself to be
Mm.
in this moment. So you come with intention. This and why bother is for the experience of aspects of you. And then pretty soon someone goes, Rachel, don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. You're playing and interested, and you want to climb the tree. But because that's part of experiencing the tree, and you want to climb the tree, and someone says, Rachel, you're going to hurt yourself.
Mm.
You can't do that. You can't do that. You're not big enough. I know you see those other kids doing that, but you can't do that. And by the way, you're not strong enough. Those kids are stronger, right? Anyway, you're bombarded eventually, right?
Yeah. Mm.
And so some of this stuff just registers.
Mm.
Oh, there's some things I'm not capable of, some things I am capable, some things I'm not capable of. Now that's fundamentally untrue.
Mhm.
There's some things I can do, some things I cannot do, fundamentally untrue. However, it's not a problem because, again, I don't have a problem growing up as me, able to do this and not able to do that. It's neutral. It's not a problem. It's just one ability versus another ability.
Mhm.
No problem
Mm.
unless I make it one. And how do I make it one? Is like a resistance to any thought, right? A resistance to it. Why? Why is that like that? That's wrong. I don't like that about me.
Mm.
Oh, wow. Judgment, criticism. Uh,
Mm.
that is using thought, the
Mm.
imagination of me, which is, by the way, created from all that I am as an imagination of what I am, with only love for the idea of me, right?
Mm.
Only love, right, for what is imagined as me. And now here I am experiencing me, beginning to use my thinking in opposition to me.
Yeah. Mm.
And that starts to be troublesome. It
Mm.
wasn't troublesome to say I'm defining me. That's helpful so I can experience me.
Yeah.
No problem that I'm like this and not like that. Those thoughts do not create a problem for me. I love this about me and I love that about me. And don't talk about that. I don't really like, I'm ashamed of that.
Mm.
Whoa, whoa, what just happened there? Now
Yeah.
you're thinking against this and against that and against this aspect of yourself. And now you've turned this creative power in
Yeah.
opposition,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And now some trouble starts.
Mm.
Now, Abraham, I want to be clear because this Abraham's message got refined over the years. In the
Mhm.
beginning, and this is all because of Esther, right? Esther's a human
Mhm.
being
Yeah.
translating pure truth into language. In the early days, there's some unpublished materials where Abraham speaks to warning bells. They speak to that this source energy coming through. And when you do something like this, you get a little warning bell, right? But since then, Abraham has clarified source is not ringing warning bells. You are here to create
Yeah.
your own reality. There is not another watching over you saying, that's appropriate. You're doing it right. That is not appropriate. You should not be doing that. Warning bell. Let's ring the warning bell, and you should not do this.
Mm.
You
Mhm.
create your own reality, and source loves all that you do. There is only a source of well being. What we perceive to be a warning bell is in the design of the system. When I, in my freedom and power, use my mind and my thinking against myself, I will feel that.
Mm.
That's not some God warning me to stop doing that because it's inappropriate. It is just because there's only a love flowing and I'm not loving,
Mhm.
but only a love is flowing. And so when I turn it and start to dislike, feel guilt, feel shame, feel insecure about me, I will feel me, what I'm doing with thought. I'm not feeling a signal from intelligence saying, well, that's inappropriate. And if you're going to keep doing that, then this is what's going to happen to you.
I'm going to
That's not,
make you sick again.
we're going to make you sick. That
Yeah.
is not what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a flawed premise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I really felt that in terms of the imagination and the creation of using using our thoughts against ourselves, and that takes us back to what we were saying towards the beginning of how we create
Mm.
how we create and judging ourselves and telling ourselves we're wrong. We feel shame. We don't want to look at that. We don't want to talk about that. We're ashamed of this. And that self punishment, I guess. And lo and behold, we might start to feel ill. We might have pain, whether physical or emotional. And could it really be that simple, Dominic?
Mm. Boy, for thousands of years, you sort of say, well, in New Age or something. But then, like, I remember reading in Louise Hay's book, Heal Yourself.
Mhm.
I think that's what it was called. Anyway, she had this one where she had all these symptoms.
Yeah, yeah.
There was this one symptom I remember, it stood out to me. It was like financial money worry would result in lower back pain
Uh-huh.
because there's something in your spine and feeling supported, right? And I thought, this is so silly. This whole book has, you're coughing. So that's because you want to bark at the world or something. Like, I was like, come on, who's coming up with this stuff? And then I found out that I recently came across where there's something in like Chinese medicine that goes back like 5,000 years that speaks to the lower back about support and abundance and that feeling. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought Louise Hay made this up. She just made it up. But so why is it that they would know that 5,000 years ago, that this would connect to that, or would manifest itself, would reflect in the body. There's almost like a guidance provided. Well, I think this makes sense if you look like this. That energy coming through wants nothing but our thriving. So that's why it's a source of health and thriving. And if you look around, it's true. It's like there's not like a seed goes in the ground and then and then that thing comes up and it just dies. Oh, there's an energy in it that brings it to its expression of an energy, and the tree grows to the maximum under those conditions. It's kind of dry there. It's in rocky ground next to a fence. So it thrives under those conditions, which is different than another tree somewhere else that, right? So that whatever that energy is wants only thriving. And then, but we're different than a tree. A tree resists, can't resist what it is. Animals, they're not much resistance. They come forth, they're guided with an intelligence for their own well-being. So then they're guided toward food, they're guided toward what they need. There's not a lot of resistance in an animal. It is just following its deeper knowing. And so when a bird, how does a bird know it becomes winter here? It was born here. It doesn't have any experience. And I don't think they go to school. Like there's not these schools that teach them this stuff. And the birds aren't talking to them to explain it all. But there's this deeper knowing. And then the bird suddenly begins to fly south. And right at the time before the cold is coming. And so there's like this intelligence that wants well-being and thriving and moves and guides all, right? So those birds and animals are not much in resistance. They're mostly allowing that intelligence. We are made, we are a different idea. We are a self-aware being. I am aware of this thought that is me, this who I think I am, very self-aware being. That idea with that self-awareness has me be different. And I have pure freedom. I am not a robot. Made in the image of the creator. I can think anything. There is not a thought that is off limits to me. There's not a thought I cannot think, right? You can't say, well, this thought, I'm going to tell it to you once, and you cannot think this thought. Thought, right? And you can't stop me. I'm sovereign in my own mind, right? So that's an interesting idea. Your freedom, Abraham says, you are so free you can choose bondage. So who I really am is abundance of all things. But I don't have enough money. I can't do certain things because I don't have enough money. Excuse me. You are not separate from all things. Yeah, but you need money to do the things that I want to do. Oh, is that what you think? Oh, is that what you think? Because if that's what you think, then it will be true for you. It will be true in your experience. Now, once again, not a problem unless your desire to experience yourself is so big and you are resisting and thinking against yourself. I want to make a difference in the world, Rachel says. I want to share with others in ways that can be helpful to them. And oh, that's great. Go ahead and do it. But I can't. What? I can't because I don't know enough about social media. I don't know enough about what? What did you just do? So there's this desire within you, and you can tell it's a true desire. You say, "Wow, I'm so excited whenever I think about this. I wish my life could be about that. I wish it could just be that that's what I did." And and so again, from the truth of it is your life can be about anything. You can be or do whatever you want. Well, no, I can't. Oh, well, well, why not? Well, no, I'm in the wrong country.
Yeah.
I was born as a woman versus a what? Come on, what else are you thinking?
Yeah.
Like, so all that stuff, the freedom of that thought, all in opposition to
Yeah.
what this desire arising within you.
Yeah.
If you don't think that that's going to be reflected in your body,
Yeah.
there's one thing to say. Here's the thing. There's one thing to say, it's uncomfortable. It feels disharmonious in my mind. I don't like to think of what I want and then to think against it. It really feels disharmonious. It feels like quite a conflict. Well, the physical body is reflecting the energy that is living you.
Yeah.
The physical body is reflecting the energy that is living you. So you did not cause that disease with its label. You are not the creator of the disease with the label. You are the creator and acceptor of the dis-ease within you.
Yeah.
The dis-ease within you that reflects physically. Your willingness to tolerate a disharmony in your mind. Well, what do you expect? Do you know what those politicians are doing? Do you expect me to just sit here and be happy about it? No, you are free to think anything. And if that's where you want to place your attention, in a state of placing your attention and thinking of how completely powerless you are relative to those who are far more powerful than you, and if that feels good for you to think it, you would thrive. But when it's a very disharmonious use of your mind and your thought and your attention, you are creating disharmony within you. You are creating dis-ease within you. Well, somebody has to. You're telling me to ignore all this? You want me to just ignore and let them do whatever they're going to do? It's like, I don't know. You won't be around very long to be bringing the love, which, by the way, I'm not feeling a lot of it. I just feel a lot of hate right now. Right? So that's how we're blinding ourselves, twisting ourselves into things, creating dis-ease within us. You are not the creator of the disease in your body. You are creating the disharmony and the dis-ease within you. Your body is simply reflecting.
Yeah. Communicating back to us, isn't it? That's so clear, actually, Dominic. So helpful that we managed to explore and we managed to really get to how we create and what's going on and what we can do and be and have anything, whether we're doing that for good or for illness, we can, or anything else, or for poverty, or that's how it works. Amazing. So
We're
helpful.
we're designed for effortless. We're really co-creating with that light. When we allow it, it shines. When we oppose against it, it'll start to get bumpy. So when we dream something, when we stand for something, Martin Luther King, I have a dream, Black children and white children. And he said that at a time when that's not what it was like, right? But it was a dream. And the dream was for what he stood for. The dream was not about what he was against.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a difference. And he dreamed what he stood for, and that dream is infused of light, right? And then when you can harmonize with that dream, that vibration will bring to it all, and it contains within it the intelligence for the manifestation of that dream.
Yeah.
And so when we are allowing what we desire, allowing our dreams, it's we're not fighting for our dreams, because you can only fight against what you do not want. And that is not your dream. That is putting you in disharmony with the dream, that when you are fighting against anything, that's creating this ease within you.
Yeah. Amazing.
Beautiful.
Thanks so
Well,
much,
thank you so
Dominic.
much. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
Thank
thanks for
you.
this. I'm sure it will be helpful, and we'll probably get some questions. Who knows? We
Oh, I
may
hope so.
have to
Yeah,
continue
that'd be
our
great. Yeah.
conversation. We'll
Yeah,
see. Thanks
definitely.
so
Yeah.
much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
where can people reach out and
Oh,
connect with
yes. Yeah. Okay.
you? And I'll include links in the
Yeah. So my website is inspiredbyrachel.com. You can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. You certainly find me in the Ask and It Is Given Facebook group. You can definitely find me, Dominic. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So
links, and then way
great. Thank you.
as well.
So
Thank you
good.
so much. Have a
Thank
great rest
you.
of the day.
You too. Take
All
care.
right.